Howdy, everyone. Welcome to Tilson Live. It is Tuesday. We are here coming at you live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Vimeo. I'm Eric Allard with Tilson Homes, part of the fourth generation of the Tilson family, joined this week, like I am every single week, who puts this on, the producer of the show, the producer of all things that you see on the Tilson profiles and various and sundries, the socials, the YouTubes, the Facebooks, the website, everything you can see, all this great content, Mrs. Dawn Dantzler, our Vice President of Marketing and Customer Experience. Welcome, Dawn.
Hey, Eric. How's it going?
It is going fantastic. A lot of work going on, so it's going real good. So y'all drop in, tell us where you are watching from, tell us where you're building, tell us what part of the process you're in. We are here, as we are every single Tuesday, to answer all of your questions about building a custom home on your land. Now, if you're building in Texas, that's where we specialize, of course. If you're somewhere else, no problem. You're at the right spot. But if you are thinking about building a home on your land in a rural area of Texas, this is where you need to get your information. So we're glad you're here. Dawn, tell us a little bit what we're talking about today.
Sure. So today we're going to talk about, there's lots, build on your land. There's a lot of questions associated with that entire process. So today we just wanted to carve out some time to talk about the most frequently asked questions that we get. So we've kind of identified like 5 or 6 questions that we get over and over again that we really wanted to go into a little bit more detail with everybody on. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So we've got, there's kind of our little version of Wheel of Fortune types, your RSTLNE. So these are the most commonly asked things. So we want to be sure we cover those. And of course, as we do every single week, we will cover any questions that you want to ask us. So
Absolutely.
Dawn and Kelsey are monitoring the chat. If you've got something you want to ask us, drop it in that chat. We are here to answer all your questions about building on your land, about the financing portion of it, about site preparation, permitting, culverts, anything that you need to know about that you're wondering about, lot selection, things like that. We're here to help. But yeah, again, tell us where you're watching from. Tell us where you're building. Tell us what house you're building, what part of the process that you're in. And we're very, very excited to help you through this phase, and drop all of your questions into that chat, and we will answer every single one of them. Well, I guess we've never put parameters on it, but we are subject matter experts, but not in all things. Not in all things.
Well, if we don't know the answer, we'll tell you we don't know. And that is an answer.
That's true. That is an answer.
Yeah.
That is an answer. That is an answer. So let's see if we got some folks joining us today.
Absolutely. Let's see. We've got Janet. She's saying, howdy, our pad is growing by the day in Grayson County for our Live Oak D. Awesome. Getting ready. We got Will coming in from Klondike.
Hey, Will. Welcome.
We got Jesse. Howdy. Looks like you were hard at work with that tractor, Eric.
No, luckily we're teaching things. This was my son from the weekend doing. We got some things that we're working on. Some tractor skills, grappling things, trash. It was supposed to be happening today because they get the standardized testing. We got the things going on, so they go to school like half a day, and as you can see, the tractor sits, which means there's probably some kid somewhere on YouTube watching YouTube. So.
Yeah, well, if we see Jacob pop up in the comments, we'll know. We got Melissa coming in from Arlington. We got Doug coming in from Minnesota. He owns land in the hills of PK. Awesome.
Oh, very cool. All right. Beautiful.
Yeah, good. Pretty place. We got Amanda. Hey, y'all. Just had our stakeout in Bexar County. Awesome. We got Tracy coming in from Henley, building a Frio model. Framing is winding down, plumbing and HVAC are installed, and roofing materials were dropped off last week. Awesome. That's great.
That is awesome. Moving right along. That's great.
We got Sally, Alan Sally, building a modified Whitney in Colorado County, hoping to move in within 2 months. Awesome.
Very cool.
We got Wesley coming in from Phoenix. We've got Doug. He's having his driveway installed and looking for a builder. Awesome.
Okay.
We're in the right place. We have got Jeannie coming in from Bertram, building a Canyon A stakeout next week.
Oh, it's exciting.
Jesse likes it. We're training up Jacob, start those skills young. I remember my first time on a skid steer and I lost my mind.
I would love a skid steer. That's something, a very handy little tool. Right now I rent them, so I'm trying to figure out which one's the right size. Obviously I need the biggest one that there is. My wife doesn't think I do. She's probably right. That sounds like fun. And good for you hopping on the skid steer, Jesse.
That's awesome. Susan, watching from the Mojave Desert in California, we'll be building a Travis A in Fort Bend County.
Very cool. Okay, some bugs chasing me.
You're getting attacked, Eric. We got Melissa. Forgot to mention building the Travis B, almost ready for first walkthrough. So excited.
Oh, very cool. All right, wonderful.
Very cool. That's a fun time. We got a friend from YouTube watching from a military base, building a canyon in Canyon Lake. Released to estimating yesterday, 70 days Beautiful. Turnaround. That was quick.
Wow.
Now it's the hurry up and wait phase.
Yeah, no, it is, but that's great. Thanks for having all your stuff done. I mean, that says a lot about you, Texas Live Free. That's that's not all.
Very well prepared. If it went that quickly, that's awesome. We got Lupe, who's in Brazos County, moving in on Friday to our new canyon. That's awesome.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations. We've got Julie building the Whitney and Bowie and watching those interest rates while we wait for building to begin.
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit. I do want to talk about that. I don't think it's one of the 5 things we had mentioned, but if we can make a note and remember to talk about the interest rate thing, I would like to make at least a comment or 2 about that. So, and I know Dawn has gone to great troubles to prepare a very sophisticated presentation so that you're not having to just imagine all the things. And of course, we do post these to our website as well as to our YouTube channel after they're done. So if you have to step away for a second and come back, you shouldn't. But if you do, you can catch up stuff later. But do, again, ask all your questions. If you're just joining us, again, we are live on Vimeo. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. Drop your questions in the chat. Tell us where you're watching from, where you're building. We want to answer all your questions. But these are all the frequently asked questions. Dawn and her team on the marketing side get these questions all the time. Dawn is going to kick us off for just a second. But guys, drop your questions into the chat. We want to answer every single one of them. And let's get going, Dawn, shall we? All
right. Well, let's start with a question that gets asked by a lot of beginners. How much can I change your floor plan? And really, plan changes, what we've done on this slide is just pulled, if you've seen any of our custom, customer tour videos, you'll see that we allow a lot of changes. So really kind of the limits on our floor plan changes, we jokingly say are the laws of physics, building codes, and your budget. So you can change as much or as little as you want. You can move walls, add rooms, include a garage, change the exterior material, change the roof line. Really, it's your home, so we give you a lot of flexibility to go ahead and design it however you like. We do have a couple of recommendations when you are making changes, just some things to keep in mind. Our drafting team has put together some amazing pre-designed custom options on the vast majority of our plans. We really recommend you start there because those have gone through the whole troubleshooting process to make sure your dishwasher is going to open and not hit your island, and all of those kinds of things. So they've kept in mind, traffic patterns, where people are going to walk, allowing walkways. So look at those. A lot of the time you can get 99% of the way just using those. Another thing, exterior changes are much easier to do. So focus on finding the right floor plan rather than I know it's very tempting and very easy to look at the outside of a plan and be like, I want that house. It's a lot easier for us to take a plan and make it look like the outside of another home than it is for us to rearrange the entire inside of the house to fit the exterior. So start with the floor plan. And we also, if you're looking to make changes, start with a house that's smaller and make it bigger rather than trying to make a larger home smaller. It's much more economical for you if you do it that way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The particularly go back to the exterior one, that's, and we've got some great customer tours that we've done that do exactly that. They loved everything about the LaSalle kitchen, master bath, but they really wanted it to look like the canyon or vice versa.
Right.
And so, you'll go crazy. Well, for sure, if you just go to floorplans.com or something and do it that way, that'll drive you nuts. But even on our website, it can get a little bit, you can get confused. I'm not gonna say overwhelmed because they're laid out really well, but you can certainly get confused. I have to have it look like this, but this one doesn't look like that. But I love to get you a layout that works, and let's build from there. It's great advice.
All right, and then our next question. What is your price per square foot? I always cringe just a little bit when we get this question.
Skip it. No one ever asks this. We can pass on that. So guys, we get it. This is not. This is something that we're asked almost every single day, and it is a real estate industry phenomena, really. I don't know. There's no other industry I can think of that asks how things cost by a certain weight, except for like cattle and like corn and things like that. So here's the deal. Speaking like you don't go to McDonald's and ask how much the cheeseburger costs per ounce. You don't go to the Chevy dealership and ask how much the Silverado costs per pound. But for whatever reason, we are conditioned, even though a home is infinitely more complicated with so much more working pieces and vendors going into it, we're trained and conditioned to ask, what is the price per foot? And the reality is that is a very misleading way to advertise. And there are builders that still do advertise that way. I will confess, 50 years ago, we advertised that way. We're part of it. Okay. So we deserve the question, Dawn. We brought this on ourselves, or at least our great grandparents did. So here's the deal. We got two examples here. We got, they're both, I'll spare you all the mathematics, having gone to Harvard on the Brazos just up the road here. These are both 100 square feet of living area. They're very small rooms, but they're 100 square feet. So on the 10 by 10, you've got 40 lineal feet of perimeter. Okay, and these are super simplistic examples. We'll show you some more in a minute that'll hit home a little more, but this is trying to, reduce it to the ridiculous, quite frankly. So 10 by 10 square, it's 100 square feet, it's 40 lineal feet of perimeter. Okay, got it. Next example, 50 by 2, 100 square feet of living area, 104 feet of perimeter. Now, we don't know anything about, we haven't talked about floor coverings, ceiling heights, plumbing fixtures, light fixtures, cabinets, what type of fit and finish, exterior facades of veneers, steepness of the roof pitch, none of that stuff. All of which, by the way, will affect your price per square foot.
Right.
This is just labor, materials for your slab, and let's just say frame, maybe interior and exterior walls. That's all we know about these two buildings. And we know for a fact that the one on the bottom, even though it's also 100 square feet, it's going to have 2.5 times more material, labor, waste, man hours, brick, lumber, sheetrock, all of the things that are going to go into that. So it shouldn't make sense. They should not cost the same price, even though they're both 100 square feet. They shouldn't cost the same price, because one, not knowing anything else, we already know one's 2.5 times more, at least 3 or 4 things than the other. So you're talking paint, so all the things that go into it, right? You got to have a receptacle every so many lineal feet of wall. That's part of electrical code. That's going to be affected on a 50-foot long wall. So anyway, I know that may seem oversimplified, but this really is accurate on how misleading price per square foot can possibly be. And to put it a little bit in better, more house building terms, we've got a couple examples to show you guys. So both of these examples are right around between 2,000 and 2,100 square feet. Okay, so this is a David Wiggins design. It's really, we just went and found these on the internet. Like, these aren't our designs, because we didn't want it to be about our plans. Okay,
right.
This is a really cool design. Love it. I'm sure it's really, really neat. Sure, it's beautiful. Again, some beautiful. So when it's lanai, we know what that is. That is a very, very expensive porch. Okay.
We see the fancy words.
That's right. Fancy words equal. Yeah. And that's not just a porch on the back. That is a barbecue porch. You may not go on that porch unless you are in fact barbecuing. So I see a wing wall on the front up there. We got sitting rooms in the master. We got a lot of twists and turns and corners, a lot of exterior perimeter, right? A lot of that stuff going on, 2,091 square feet. So, and then we have another example, and we can ask folks, if you want to drop your comments in and tell us which one you think is going to cost more, the David Wiggins design or the Clayton Homes design. All right. So this house also 2,078 square feet. So we're 13 square feet being the same size. Like, we're talking a closet, folks. Right. And the difference is going to be, you look at the complexity of the design. This is super simple. It's a rectangle because it's a trailer. So it's maybe it's two trailers side by side. In fact, I can assure you it is, because it's got a perfectly line going down the middle of it. But yeah, this one, which one is going to cost less, right? Which one's going to cost more? Which one's going to cost less? It should. These two 2,070, 2,090 square foot homes should not cost the same amount of money. But if a builder is charging by this, we start at $180 a square foot. What are you getting? What is that? Is that for this design? Is that for the other design? Well, they have to to cover their cost on that other more complicated design. They have to, in case you choose it. Even though they'll only be building you this one, in which case they're going to be coming out a lot better, and you're not going to be as advantageous. So I would simply, and then there's all kinds of other square footages, right? Like, are we talking? These are living area.
Right.
So when you're asking square footage or price per square foot, are they giving you the square foot of living area? Are they giving you the square foot of house and porches, but not garage? Are they giving you square foot of total slab area? You don't ever really know until you get really, really down in the details, which may be too late. So that's something that we want to try to educate you guys to just ask more questions. We're not saying you can't ask that question, okay? That's not, but don't make a decision based on that question, right? So what do we got here, Don? Walk us through.
So this is just kind of how we would recommend that you compare home prices. And what we would suggest is ask the price of the specific home that you're looking to build and get clarification about the features included. So look at the builder's catalog of plans, what they've got, and ask about the specific ones. For Tilson, what we do is we price all of our homes individually, and we show those starting prices on our website. And we do it by county, so there's a lot of clarity for what you're going to get when you're building that home and what that price is. On our website, when you are looking, the range of prices is the different exterior elevations that we offer for the plan, just so that you guys kind of understand what you're looking at. But when you're talking to builders and comparing, really it's best to kind of find take a plan from one builder that looks like similar to the plan of the other and get that actual price rather than saying what's your average square foot, or even worse, what's your starting square foot, because the house you're looking at could be completely different from that figure. So just make sure that you're actually talking about the type of home that you want to build. And when you're making those comparisons, you're comparing apples to apples.
Great advice. And so just be sure that you're asking more questions, get a little bit deeper.
Yes.
And you'll be pretty safe.
Yep. All right. The next question, what is the EasyBuy program?
Okay. So, Dawn, you want to start off?
Sure. So the EasyBuy program, and we have a very lengthy video that we can link in the comments that goes through all of the math. But in a nutshell, the short definition is most builders are going to require you to get a construction loan. And so you've got interest and cost associated with that. With our program, we don't require that. So Tilson is going to pay for the construction of your home using our own funds. So you don't need to borrow money for us to build your home. So what that means is that you don't have that construction loan or any of the associated costs or fees. There's going to be no monthly payments during construction for your new home. If you're a qualified buyer, there's no down payment because a lot of times you can use your property as your down payment. We have a lower equity requirement than construction loan lenders. So we're looking for 10%, where a construction loan would be looking for 20%. And it's just going to leave more money in your pocket that you can use for all of your land prep items or for putting more into your home. But mostly, you've got the peace of mind of knowing that we're financially sound enough to build your home and only get paid when it's complete. So all you're going to do is pay your deposit to us, and we don't get another penny until your home is built, which is not the case with other builders.
Yeah, so it's super simple, and but that we do get that question quite a bit of just kind of get some clarification on it, because it is very different. If you talk to other builders, even other financing companies, you start talking to a lender that's not kind of one of our preferred lenders, either AMCAP or CMG, when you start telling them, and this is important to know as you're shopping for lenders, when you start telling them that, okay, well, my builder doesn't require a construction loan. They're going to build a house.
All I need to get approved for is a mortgage. I don't need to worry about that construction loan.
They're going to look at you like you just introduced them to running water. Okay?
They're going to tell you misunderstood, and that can't be true. And we're here to tell you it is. That is how we do it.
It is.
All right.
So good question, Dawn. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah. All right. Well, how about Eric? You take this one. Will the price of my home increase?
Okay. So here's the deal. There's a couple of ways to answer this. There's different phases of where people are. So obviously you got pricing on the website. We can give you pricing at our design centers. We sit down with a sales consultant. So if you haven't signed an agreement yet, if you haven't decided which plan you like, agreed on the price and all the different features of it, and put down that $3,000 deposit, if you have not, this slide is for you right now. We can. It is April 12th, 2022. Prices are going nutty still. Supply chains are outrageous. we cannot guarantee the pricing for anybody that has it's not under contract and put a deposit with us. I mean, basically, the price is as good until you walk out that door. We do not know when we're going to get hit with increases right now. And not even just increases, although that's a big part of it, but stuff that's not available, like stuff we used to use, and we used it for a good reason, and now it's not there anymore, and we are forced to use this other product, which is more expensive.
Right.
So we don't get to make those calls. And so for that reason, right now, we can only guarantee the price till you walk out the door. Now, that said, once you do give us a deposit, once we're ready to move forward, the only way that the price could change is if we authorize it and you authorize it. So that's what a change order is for. There's really only two unknowns, guys. And they both have to do with your land. So the good news is they're not going to change no matter who you build with. They are what they are. Those two things are the out of well or topography of the land, and then what's underneath, the soil test. So the only way we would come to you with some type of a amended price of some sort is if if our engineers have found something in the geotechnical investigation that they're like, hey, look, we really want to do this to the foundation design. This is what's going to take to get it done right. We would come to you and let you know what that price is going to be. Otherwise, it would be just a change initiated by you. If that would change the price. So any kind of plan changes, upgrades during cover selections, that kind of thing. Those are the main things. The other thing would only be like if you're, I don't know if you have a separate slide for this or not, Don, but the county and city stuff.
Oh, no, I don't.
Okay, that's the problem. Okay, well, if for some reason the county came back and said, oh, we redid the flood maps, they're in the floodplain now, you got to come up 5 feet, which would kind of fall into that prepare for construction thing. That's what that means, is if something popped up that you just flat out didn't know about on your land, or maybe your architecture control committee turns out they require 100% masonry, or something like that the plan doesn't have. That's something that we would find out, maybe at an architectural review, the ACC approval point, and we would let you know.
So something that's going to require us to make some type of change to what we're building. Yeah. Okay. The other thing that could impact you is how long it takes to get ready for construction. So what we offer is our price protection pledge. And what this is doing is guaranteeing that agreement price for a certain length of time. So when you sign an agreement, we're going to hold your price for 180 days while we get your home design and property ready for construction. The owner responsibilities during this time are going to be anything related to the location or condition of the property that we need done to begin construction. So this is things like temporary power, doing any site clearing, putting in your culverts, your driveways, your permitting, all of that kind of stuff, that it's your land, this is where it is, this is the condition it's in, and these are the things that need to happen before we can begin building. The other owner responsibility is approval of your final plans and material selections. So we need you as quickly as possible to say, this is the home that I'm going to build. I'm not going to make any more changes, and here are my colors, and I'm done, and we're not going to monkey around with it anymore. So those are your responsibilities. Once those responsibilities are met, your price will not change. But what happens if it takes more than 180 days? Because it does happen. So if we're not there within 180 days, and we've increased the base price of our homes, which is pretty much a guarantee right now, the way the market is, your price is going to go up 5.25%. And that's essentially going to buy you another 60 days to complete whatever's required. At the end of that additional 60 days, if everything's not completed, your price is going to go up another 3.5%. This will lock in another 60 days. If at the end of that second 60-day time period, you haven't completed everything, we're kind of at the point where we're going to need to go ahead and say, hey, we need to write a new agreement. We need to cancel this out and start over, because clearly something's up that we're going to need a little bit more time for.
Yeah, and we do this, guy. Look, on Tilson Live, we're here for transparency. Okay, it's really, really important to us that you come here and you get the truth about what's going to happen. Now, are things changing? Every day. Okay, it's every day that something else is popping up, and so we're doing this here. You asked me to do this 2 years ago, I'd have told Dawn, delete it all. Like, we can handle this in the office. But the reality is, you guys deserve to know this kind of information, because this is not just affecting Tilson Homes, okay, and just you. These are questions if you build with us or not, which we hope we get the chance. But if you build with us or not, these are questions you need to ask the builder that you're talking to. Hey, what happened? Like, is this price guaranteed forever? What's the deal? I know prices are increasing like crazy. How do y'all handle that? Like, we're telling you, it's all decided up front so that you're not getting a surprise later on.
Right.
It's not to say that things won't still pop up, but when they do, we've already told you how it's going to have to be handled right now. And that's really what this is about.
And a lot of other builders have things like, cost escalation clauses in their actual contracts. So if we go X percentage over what I thought something was going to cost, you're going to pay the difference. So it's really important to kind of have those conversations. And this is our way of, providing you guys transparency with all of that. And then the great news is once all the owner responsibilities have been met and we've released your file, your price isn't going to change. It's locked. So we now take responsibility for all cost increases. Once that happens, it's coming out of our pocket. Now, keep in mind, this is, as I mentioned, it's everything that's related to the location of the property. So that includes permitting, any kind of permitting or approvals, which is usually where we're seeing the dragging of the feet right now. That relates to where your land is. So that is your responsibility. We can't release to construction without those things. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're thinking, I did everything that I needed to do. Like we might be waiting on some other entity related to where your property.
Yeah, mainly what we're seeing things like that is some of these really booming areas. This is what kind of drove us out. This and just the complete and total lack of transparency, like out of the city of Austin, out of the city of Houston. Like there was just no way, there was no predictability whatsoever, even before COVID and all that, and supply chain issues and all that stuff. So, we just know that if we tell you need to talk to the county, because sometimes we will need your help. We can do a lot as the builder, but because it is your land, we do sometimes have to rely heavily, depending on where it is, to get that stuff done. You facilitating it with the whoever the governing entity is.
Yep. All right. Well, it looks like we have a few questions. So
let's answer.
Go ahead and pause for those. Let me see where we were. We had Nate. We had a couple people coming in. Building a Canyon D in Bandera, scheduled to pour slab in August. Also nervous about where interest rates will be when we close. Do you want to talk about interest rates, Eric?
Yeah, I'll be glad to. Yep, be glad to. So here's the deal, and I've done a lot of research of late on this. Now, granted, obviously, Tilson's been doing this for 90 years. I've only been here for like 20 of that, so I'm still new at Tilson Homes, only 20 years. So here's what I can tell you, and this is a saying that my grandfather used to tell us not infrequently when I first started out, and he said, because the rates were like 8%. This is like 2002 ish, 2001, 2002. That time, a good rate was about 8%.
My first time was 9.
Okay, so and by the way, his saying was, Eric, we sold as many houses at 6% as we sold at 16%. Now, do you want a 16% rate? No, you do not. 1981, 19%. Those were the rates. But here's what I can tell you. In the big scheme of where interest rates have ever been in U.S. history, we're still at the bottom.
Absolutely.
Is it 2.9%? No, it is not. But it's not 8. It's not 6. It's not 8. It's not 12. It's not 15. And the reality is our country kept going. Now, I don't want anybody who's watching here have to end up one of those kind of rates, but, the rates were 5% in 2018. So we're not talking about they're gone up a lot based on where they have been.
Right.
Percentage wise, rates went up 1.5% for the first time in 10, 12 years. Okay. Well, they went from 2.9 to like 4.4. That's 1.5%. That's not the same as going from 7 to 8.5, or from 9 to 12. So I'm not minimizing what folks are worried about, but what I am telling you is go look at the big scheme of things. Let's see what it really does to the payment. And if you are concerned, let's go have a conversation with the loan officer, the mortgage entity. I will tell you that's something that we keep an eye on anyway, even before all this starts happening, because we've been doing this for a long time. So particularly if you're using one of our preferred lenders, we, obviously there's no 100% guarantee, but we typically have a conversation with them about, hey, what if rates did go up a point and a half? We were doing that. We've been doing that since 2007. When this was happening 15 years ago. So when stuff was going from, 6 to 8 to 8.5, depending on what kind of program you were doing, or if you could fog a mirror or whatever else was happening back in 2007. If your dog applied for a loan, it was getting a loan. So And that's not happening right now, which is a very good thing. Like those lending practices were shut down, and you have to have a legitimate approval these days to get a Fannie Mae backed conventional or FHA or VA loan, which is the only type we do. We don't do any kind of funny business lending, none of the subprime stuff. There are ARMs available. I don't know of any that we currently have of all the deals we have that are adjustable rate mortgages at all. So, it's a totally different world than it was back then. Now you're going to hear about it in the news because they need the ratings.
They need something to talk about.
Yeah. And so anyway, I won't go further down that road, but there's something bad about the 24-hour news cycle that they have to keep giving you something to be scared about. And you don't need to be scared about that. Like we're very, very lucky to still be in the 4 to 5.5% range. Anyway.
Okay, we've got a question from Al. Hello there. We're building a Laporte in Bertram.
Awesome.
My question is, does septic have to be the last utility installed? My septic guy has a slot available sooner than expected.
Okay, Al, that's a great question. And actually, it does not have to be the last one installed. It'd be a great thing to talk to your building superintendent about, just to make sure that what our biggest concern is we don't want to tear something up. We don't want to tear your septic lines, sprinkler heads, tanks themselves, field lines. If it's conventional, we don't want to tear those up. But no, I mean, if it happens that he can get in a week or two before the actual water line or electrical line are going to be, trenched and run, knock it out. That's not a problem. But I still would defer to your builder, the superintendent who's overseeing your job, just to make sure that, because when it does get in, we want to be sure that if we need to flag something or something like that, to make sure that nobody else hits it, destroys it, damages anything, we want to have an opportunity to do that. But no, I mean, I totally get it. If he's available and it's a week or two before the water line can get there, do it.
Yep, absolutely.
Great question.
And our friend who got released so quickly said he did all his homework. So clear the land, remove trees, installed culvert, construction driveway a few hours after. Oh, wow. After the stakeout meeting. Did you have the crew? Must have the crew there ready to go.
Wait a minute. When he says staying on task, is he trying to tell us something about the Tilson live show? The staying on task, it pays off.
Yeah, no, we don't follow that advice.
Subtle shot across the bow. Not so subtle shot across the bow.
All right, we've got the Taylors building San Jacinto Sea in Sugarland. We had our foundation pour this morning. Zach, Thomas, and Katie are awesome. Yeah. Oh, that's the one that Katie was going to. She was telling us about that. That's awesome.
Super. Exciting. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. We got Melissa coming in late. For builders, typically want plans redrawn if it wasn't done by their specific architect.
Okay, so I think it's a do builders. I'm looking at my keyboard and the D's by the F, so if it's a mistake, I can do the same thing. So the answer is yes. But there's a why, right? There's always, or should be a why. I'll tell you what it is for us, and it's going to be the same with most builders. So almost all estimating and takeoffs and shipping list and material counting, all that's done with software these days.
Right.
And almost all of it these days with most builders, particularly custom ones, that is tied to the software that designs the plan. So you've got the plan designed in some type of software, whether it's Revit or AutoCAD or whatever. Vision Res is an old, you can, all that information, the way ours works is we have key metrics for all of the things, right? So the perimeter of wall, the ceiling heights, the windows, the doors, the door hardware, the light fixtures, the plumbing fixtures, all cabinets, it's all key metrics based on the plan. So then that pumps that information over into our estimating and purchasing software. It tells it, hey, you're going to need this many square feet of OSB, so this many sheets. You're going to need this many lineal feet of random length lumber, this many 2x4 studs, this many 2x6 studs, this many treated toe, it spits all. So you can't do that. It's very, very rare anymore and very time consuming for folks to do hand takeoffs. So where you sat there with a scale, an architectural scale, and counted lumber based on that. How many rafters is it going to have? How many ceiling joists is it going to have? Do they need to be 12 foot, 14 foot, 16 foot, 18? That's very, very rare that it's done anymore. And it's extremely time consuming and takes a highly specialized individual. And software kind of made it where you don't need to do that anymore. So that's why the plans typically need to be redrawn into whatever software that the builder's other software will speak to. So great question.
Yeah, and it's also, there's sometimes in architectural plans where they've left out some of the details that we want to make sure we're talking about. We'll see notes on there of cabinets to builder. We have to kind of go in and talk about what's different, kind of plan out those details, but also talk about what's different in their drawings versus ours. So how are we doing trim? How are we doing all these different things that we have a way we do things? And if that's not how you want it, we want to make sure that we have that specific conversation about it rather than, well, it was in the plans like this. If it
That's an awesome point, because you figure our framers are just the cornice, for instance, like how the house is finished at the eave. Like we have a very specific detail of how that's done on our homes, 2 or 3. We have a raked cornice, or we have one that's a sealed with lamb leg and soffit and all that kind of stuff. And our framers are accustomed to building it those specific ways.
Right.
If we get a plan in that it's not that, and they get out in the field and they've never built it that way before, that's a big deal. So,
and that's something we want you to take a look at. Like, is that how you want it done, or are we doing something different? So, and then Richard asked a question. I know Kelsey answered it, but I'll also answer it for everybody else. Do you build standalone garages? We do, as long as you are also building a home at the same time. So we'll build a detached garage when we're building your actual home, but we won't build a garage by itself as the only thing on the project. Wesley was commenting when we were talking about EasyBuy that unless you're cash pay, which he is, so he is making payments to us during construction, but he's saying that that's also an easy process. So,
well said, Wes. We forgot to mention the cash customers.
Yes,
that's the easiest buy.
Yeah, that is the easiest buy. And then Melissa's asking, what if the finalized built home appraises for less than it costs to build it?
All right, we do get that question, actually. That's not the first time we've gotten that. So that won't happen on the finalized build, if that makes sense. So where we see this happen is, which is why we require the appraisal up front. We see it happen before we ever start construction, which is that's when you want to know, Melissa. That's a great question. Before we will ever drive a nail, we require the lender provide us with an as-built appraisal based on our plans and the options and stuff that you picked out, the stuff that you're putting in your house, your garage, your porches, all of your stuff on your land, exactly as if it were built today, what it would sell for. So we know that before we ever release your home to construction. All the final appraisal really does is they're going out to ensure that we built what we told the lender we were going to build. We can't show them a LaSalle. We're going to build this LaSalle, appraise it for that, then go out there and build a San Antonio that's 1,200 square feet and expect it to be the same value. Like they're going to go out, they want to make sure that the house is the size you said it was going to be, the commode's flush, the lights turn on, it drains away. You can drive to the house. Like where we see appraisals coming into the issue is when you don't have a final drive done. That's the only time but they're not going out there to re-verify unless the appraisal has expired. And even then they'll typically do an update online. They don't drive back out there. So what they're driving out there to do the final appraisal is to verify that we built what we said we were going to build and that it's a functional, substantially complete home.
Yeah. All right. Sally is saying we had extra foundation cost plan changes and upgrades, most of which we chose to pay for out of pocket instead of rolling it into the mortgage at the end. Lots of options building with Tilson. Thank you, Sally. That's good advice.
It's like the whole show wrapped up in 2 lines. Done.
Brandon is asking, but what happens if those unforeseen expenses push you above your loan approval amount?
Yep. So the couple of ways to handle that, Brandon. So we can either go back to the lender and see if there's any other room. Sometimes the appraisal could come in for more. So it depends on your loan approval amount. Is it based on, because particularly a pre-approval, we'll see a lot of times that's just based on what the buyer asked for. It's not necessarily what they can only borrow. Some will do it based on your debt to income ratio. Like, hey, based on your debt and what you're currently making in income, this is the maximum monthly payment you can have, which yields this maximum financeable amount. But so we go back to the lender, and because sometimes the unforeseen expense can add value. It's pretty rare, but sometimes we can go back and say, hey, we're having to do this, is there any value from the appraisal standpoint that we can get out of that? That's pretty rare, but it can happen. And then the alternative is any difference amount in the contract amount, which would be with unforeseen expenses would be included, and the loan amount that we have to have that paid up front before we'll start construction. So we take that in the form of in that case, it would be a down payment, or at least a deposit that if you could get it increased over the duration of the bill, but typically it's going to be just a down payment.
Okay. All right. And then Brandon is also asking, does Tilson connect to water meters and sewer connections, or does the owner need to coordinate with a plumber?
Okay. So my favorite answer, it depends. Some places, in fact, most places will allow us to do that, particularly with water meters. Not all, but most of them will. Sewer gets a little bit dicier. So if you're on an actual sewer system, which would almost exclusively be a city or a mud district, they're going to require a plumber do it, which it would be our plumber anyway. But they sometimes require a plumber be from their list of bonded, approved plumbers, of whoever they've already got bonds with, insurance, in other words.
Okay.
And so in some cases, we will not be allowed to do that. You'd have to get that, but we would know that before we ever start construction. Like we typically, that's one of the things we discover at the site evaluation, where that sewer, and then we can also still get bids if it is. But our price includes 50 feet of water line is included. So if that gets you from the house where we stub it out to where the water meter is, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
Our base prices do not include any sewer line, but that's really because like 91% of what we build is on a septic system.
Right.
So we wouldn't be like that. We're putting the whole sewer in, not just the sewer line. So we have pricing for sewer line in the cases we need to do that. Great question.
Okay. All right. Susan is asking, does Tilson send our official house plans to the county we are building in for approval, or are we as the customer supposed to do that? She's in Fort Bend County.
Okay, so if it's Fort Bend County, we're gonna send those for the county permit. If we're doing the permit, I mean, there could be some case if you're doing your own septic and you're getting the septic permit, because I think they want in Fort Bend County, I think they want you have to have the septic permit approved before you can get the building, or maybe I have that backwards, vice versa. Montgomery County, I know it's one document. It's septic. It's a Class A septic with building permit, or Class A building with septic. And so every county is a little bit different. But typically, we're going to send the plans to them. We'll take care of all that, get the building permit. It will just depend. If we're doing the septic, for sure, I mean, we're going to do it all because we'll send this one package. I know Brazoria, it's two different offices, and they do not talk to each other. In my Brazoria County, just cut like a hole it's in the same building.
In the wall, yeah.
In the same building, you can just pass paper back and forth. It's called email. You can do that. So, but anyway, yeah, we will take care of that for you, or you can do it. But a lot of times in some counties they want the builder to do it. Some counties they want the homeowner to do it. So, great questions.
Yeah, interesting. All right, Kathy's asking, can windows that don't open be replaced with windows that open? Can homes not have carpet, and can homes be built with metal roofs?
I bet Dawn can answer every single one of those.
Yes. So windows that don't open can be replaced with windows that open. You just need to talk to your design consultant. Some of the larger ones might not be able to open if you want like the really big windows, but that's a conversation you can have with your design consultant. But in most cases, yes, we can do that. Absolutely. You can choose to have no carpet in your home. That's just something when you're picking out your options that you would say, hey, in all the bedrooms and living, family room, all these rooms that would have had carpet before, I want to go with whatever your flooring of choice is in that area. And yes, we can build with metal roofs. One thing to keep in mind, especially now with supply chains and prices, is you have to really, 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 really like a metal roof to want to build one. There is no performance difference between a metal roof and a standard shingled roof. It's really aesthetic, and it can be surprising to a lot of customers what that price difference is. So just kind of be prepared.
That's true.
And then Kathy had more questions. Can microwave ovens be built in and not over the stove? I'm short. And do you have propane cook stoves and propane central heat? Microwave location, absolutely, we can move that for you and put it in another cabinet for you. Put it lower. Put it in an island. I've seen them in islands. Your design consultant can help you make those changes. Eric, what about the propane?
Yep. So they're actually not so commonly known fact. It's actually the exact same appliances, same furnace for your heat, same appliance. The only difference is there's a little orifice, little hole that adapter that they put in the line on the back of the appliance or on the end of the gas line. That's the difference between natural gas and propane or LP. So, yep, we can do. In fact, most of our customers, if they're going to have gas, it's going to be LP because most of them are in a rural area. So, yeah, our contractors are very accustomed to working with LP gas, and we make a note on the plans if it's LP or if it's natural, and that gets put on the work order and the purchase order for the appliance supplier and for the HVAC contractor, and they bring out the orifices.
Okay. And then Kristen has some questions. Our prices increased due to going over the 180-day mark and then the 50-day, I think she means 60-day mark.
Yeah.
When is that amount due, and what would happen if we don't have the amount of cash on hand to pay upfront? Will our price continue to increase until the full amount is paid?
Okay, Kristen, that's a very good question. So typically we would try to go to the lender and see if that could fit in the loan, maybe a combination of the two of, okay, part of it in a down payment, part of it will be added to the loan. Forgive me, I don't know enough about the specific situation, but apart from that, that's when it kind of pushes into what Dawn was talking about of, we may have to just evaluate and see what the price is once. And again, this is only because of the times we're in right now. Unfortunately, like we've in the history of our company, we've never had to do it like this. In the last 18 of my 20 years, we've never had to do it like this. But unfortunately, it's in a situation where it's so unpredictable, and it's not the vendor's fault. It's not the supplier's fault. It's a mess.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that to say, we may have to just evaluate and see, where we are at the end of that second 60 days. Actually, it's a third 60 days that would be that. So get with your sales consultant or maybe even the regional manager over the sales consultant, and they can walk you through what that looks like. But typically it's a down payment of cash, or it's a combination of increasing the loan amount and a down payment.
Okay. Jesse is asking, when do you get assigned a builder or a main point of contact for the build?
Yeah, I think it's about 4 weeks prior to when you're actually released to construction. For sure 2 weeks out, because that's when we're trying to schedule the pre-construction meeting, is about a week or two out from actually getting released to construction. So typically we have it assigned, our VPs of construction will assign it to the builder based on load, based on distance to travel, based on other jobs they're carrying. They'll wait till about 2 to 4 weeks out to assign the builder to it, just to see kind of what's he got coming up that's going to be closing, how many other slabs does he have. Then that's part of what put us into the slotting process is, you can only pour so many slabs a week or a month, so it doesn't do any good to give a guy, 8 slabs in a month, because then he's got 8 frames to do the next month and 8 HVAC. So it just backs up the whole system that's already bogged down.
Right.
But yeah, so you're looking about 2 to 4 weeks out, you get assigned it. And then about a week or two out is when they would actually call and schedule your sales consultant will call and schedule the pre-construction meeting. Great question.
Okay. All right. Amy has a question about fences. Is it best to install a fence for the backyard after closing, or can it be done beforehand?
Right now, I'd say after closing. That's going to be best. Only so we don't want the appraiser getting confused or having questions when they go out there and say, hey, this fence is like halfway done. What does that mean? Because there's some lenders out there that would be like, oh, well, we will not close if there's any work occurring whatsoever. Because theoretically, that fence guy, if he doesn't get paid, even if you're doing it, we're not, he could theoretically file a lien if he doesn't get paid. So these days, they're getting pretty cautious about that. They're getting pretty persnickety, as they say, that they don't want any more work happening outside of the build of the home, of course, stuff that they know we're taking care of. But like if you've got a pool being put in or a building being put in or something like that, a fence being put in, they may very well say, you know what? I'll stop. We will not close until that work is done. And you don't want to put yourself in that position, particularly if you've got a rate that's locked in. You want to be able to close on that and then worry about the fence later on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good question.
Melissa has a question. Can you have a bedroom without a window, but a door to the hallway and to a Jack and Jill bath to a room with a window?
No, ma'am. No. Unfortunately, no. And I know you're in an unincorporated area, King Oaks and Grimes County. You're Iola, Texas. But the state of Texas does in fact have a building code, and I think it's the IRC. It's either 09 or 2015, 2015, somewhere in there. Anyway, that is the state adopted building code, and that state code says you must have 2 egresses in a bedroom. So that means you can't have to exit that room to get out of that room. So let's say the fire is inside the home, right? In the hallway, for instance, if that fire's in the hallway or between that hallway door going to that bedroom and the nearest exit, front or back door, you have to be able to get out of that room, a window, without entering where the dangerous area could be, which would be going into the Jack and Jill and then out. So unfortunately, they wouldn't. It's kind of a creative way to do it, because you wouldn't be having to go back into the hallway. But the other thing is in the Jack and Jill bath. Yeah, no, they're not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
They're not going to let that happen. You're gonna have
this falls under the rules we were talking about, the 3 things: building code. That would go against building code.
Very creative, though. Very
creative. We like the thought. So our Como County gentleman is asking, besides power, water, and septic, what other permits are needed in Como County?
I don't know of any offhand. I don't know of any places that they may require a driveway permit. Some do, but not everywhere. The only other thing would be if you're in the floodplain, they may have to have some type of a floodplain or drainage easement permit. That just came up recently about one actually in Comal County, where the drainage easement was altered between like when we were out there at site visit and then when the septic design got done, and then the county went out there and said, you've impeded this drainage easement, and now we will not approve your septic until you get that situated. And it's not that it's impeding the septic at all, but that's kind of their collateral, if you will.
Yeah, it's their leverage at this point.
Yeah, leverage is a much better word.
Well, I am going to go back to the presentation, but we will come back and
we will answer all your questions. Keep dropping your questions in the chat. We do want to get this one in here because it's the one we get a lot. And that is what?
How long will it take to build my home?
Longer than it used to. Yeah. So, yeah.
Longer than you thought.
Yeah. Unfortunately, right now, it is a wildly unpredictable time. You know, we used to tell folks, we used to build houses in like 4 months. Seriously. We're talking decades ago, but it was a thing. And then it's like 8 months, and then it was like 9 months, then it's 9 to 12 months, and then it went crazy. And at this point, we're now in an 18 to 24 month total time frame from when the agreement is signed, and that does depend very specifically on where you're building. Now, I can tell you, there's not going to be anywhere you're building is going to be less than 12 months right now. That's not from when you do the deposit. We're not talking about just construction time. We're talking about total time from the deposit till it's done. We give you the keys. And unfortunately, the worst part of that, guys, is a lot of that is just sitting there with nothing happening. It's just waiting. And that's the most frustrating part, I think, for people. So but the reality is, again, you're here for the truth. We're going to give you, transparency and candor, whether it's what you want to hear or not. I know, but this is reality. And just don't forget about how our business model works, right? I mean, there's the whole EasyBuy financing thing. We're locking you in on this price, or at least doing the 180-day price protection pledge. We do not get paid until the house is finished. Your lender doesn't give us any money until the house is substantially complete. That final, the appraiser goes back out there and verifies it's all done. So, believe me, nobody wants to get this thing underway worse than we do. I know you think you do, and you do, but we really want it done.
Yes.
But Dawn, what's the good news? Forget doom and gloom, Eric.
What you were talking about is that, once your home is ready for construction and we've said, we're good, we're ready to release, your price isn't going to change. And then, if you're using our EasyBuy program, like Eric was talking about, we want your house done as badly as you do, because we're not getting paid until they're done. And, there's no interest accruing. Whereas if you were in the same situation with another builder, which you would be in the same situation with another builder, you would also be looking at accruing interest on a construction loan that you're making payments on. And it's even more frustrating. So that's the good news if you're working with us. But these are definitely very different times. And we thank everyone in advance for their patience, because it is going to take a long time, and there are going to be a lot of starts and stops while we're waiting on inspectors or waiting on materials. It's going to take longer than anybody anticipated. And that is the last question. That's the last prepared question that I have.
Yeah.
So now we can jump back in.
In the political world, that's what we call the last planted question.
That was the last official question. Let's get to the real questions. We've got Kristen asking, we need stairs and rails for the back porch, and we're told that we can provide those after framing. How does that work?
Okay, so yes, you can, Kristen. It's also where, and the reason we do that, so we can do steps and railing. The problem is once we do them, that they're kind of there. And if they don't exactly weave into how you envisioned your back patio playing out, then you have to go tear out brand new steps and rails. There's a couple of ways. After the framer's done, then you kind of have a better idea. All it means is it can't close with that much of a drop off. I think anything over 30 inches. And so we can do it. We can price it for you, and we can handle the steps and the railing. Or if you have something in mind that you want, if you don't want wood, maybe you want concrete, or maybe you want a wrought iron system done of some sort that you find someone local that wants to do, you can do it that way. If you would prefer that we do it, we can, and we'll give you a price, and we'll do a change order, and we'll do it. You authorize that, and we'll do it. But otherwise, it's basically when the framers are done, you can do it really anytime after that. It just would have to be done before the home will close. So when the inspector comes out, if it's more than a 30 or 32 inch drop, he's not going to pass it for the final inspection.
Right. Okay. And then Melissa's asking on our bedroom windows, does the window have to be on an outside wall, or can it go to a different hallway?
Got to be outside.
All right.
Got to be an outside wall. Yeah, if it's a bedroom, it's got to have a window to the outside. And by the way, there's a minimum size has to be too. It's minimum. I can't remember what the square footage of the opening is. If one of our drafting folks is watching, they can chime in and do that. But there's a square foot. But basically, what I'll tell you is a 3050, a 3 foot wide by 5 foot wide single hung. In other words, the bottom half of that window.
You have to be able to open said window. Yeah.
Checks the box. Yeah, it has to be operable, and it has to be big enough for you to dive out of it if you had to.
Yeah, we need it just for safety. We need a quick escape. All right. Janet is saying we've been assigned a builder and talked to him on the phone about the pad. Our pre-construction meeting is set for June 8th. Once the pad is complete, will all other work stop until June 8th?
So not necessarily, no. Because what they'll be doing once the pad starts going along, and then they may very well, depending on the availability of the concrete contractor, they may. I mean, we've had some customers get out there to their pre-construction meetings, and the forms are set, and the dirt's in the forms. So that would really depend on the availability of the foundation contractor, what his schedule is, and when he's able to get around, and when the pad is completed. So great question. But yeah, so it's maybe yes, but probably not.
Okay. All right. And that is the last question that I see. We just have Melissa thanking us for the information, saying the videos are very helpful. Thank you. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
Kathy, same thing. Great information. Thank you, Kathy.
We'll keep an eye on that Melissa one. She's creative.
She's sneaky, man. She's going to figure this out.
I want to put her on the International Code Council.
I know. Very interesting. Oh, here they come.
Here they come.
All right, Brandon, for those on a city sewer system, can you connect to an existing sewer line that was installed for a previous home, or do you need to run a new line? Same with an existing water line.
So that ends up being up to the city, unfortunately. That is not our call. So the answer to the flat out answer to your question is yes, we can. Okay, it's 4-inch PVC as long as there's enough fall. As long so the water has to run downhill. As long as there's enough fall, we can. I don't know what kind of home was there before. Was it an elevated home on blocks? Was it a mobile home? Because those are typically going to be a little bit higher up than a house on slab is. And in some of those cases, there's not enough, because our house is being a little lower. There's not enough fall to that sewer tap. But if there is, and they'll let us, then yes, we can do that. A lot of times, though, the city, particularly if it's an older sewer line, this is their way of bringing it on up to current
onto code.
Specs. Yeah. So they would probably make you install a new sewer line. I haven't seen it happen as much as in the water lines, but they can do that as well. It ends up being up to the city. I don't know what city you're building in, but if you want to get with your local sales consultant, we could actually give them the address and ask the city, and they would tell us. And then hopefully they'll stick to it, whatever they tell us.
Maybe we can get it in writing, and that might help. It won't, but we can pretend. Amanda's asking, are you able to move in your furniture belongings prior to closing? We are living in our mobile home on site and trying to plan for the future.
Okay, so very specific to those folks living in a mobile home. Great question, man. It's like they know. Okay, so if you're living on site in a mobile home, especially, we get it. Okay, it doesn't make sense to have to move twice. You need to move all your stuff out of your trailer, put it in storage, or at Meemaw's house, or in a barn. Don't you put anything in my barn. and then move it all out into the new house. So what happens is we actually give you like a kind of about a maximum 2-week kind of grace period. Now you have to have your homeowner's insurance active. That's a requirement. So, and your builder and our closing department, Laurie and Michelle and those good folks there, they'll help you coordinate that. but you got to get your homeowner's insurance activated. And once you do that, we give you up to 14 days to move all the stuff out of your mobile home into the new home. We basically let you live there rent free for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but that time also includes getting the mobile home off site, because my guess is the requirement, which is typically the case, the lender will not close with a mobile home still on the property. They will not close with 2 single family residences on one piece of collateral property.
Okay.
Now, some customers get around this by doing a survey out. Do not go do that unless you talk to us and the county first. Do not go hire a surveyor, because the surveyor will draw a line wherever you want them to. So if you do that and the county says, oh, that's a replat now, then you just bought yourself 6 months and we're going to have a real problem on our hands.
Right.
So don't do that. But the lender cannot, for it to be a Fannie Mae compliant, to meet Fannie Mae guidelines, you can't have 2 single family residences on one piece of collateral property. That's why we give you that 2 weeks to move your stuff into the mobile home once your insurance is activated and get the mobile home off the property.
Okay.
So that takes some coordination, because a 2-week time frame these days that's a tough one to meet.
Yeah. So what about for people who aren't in a mobile home?
So if you're not in a mobile home, you're typically, the house that you're in is on a different piece of collateral property. The example I gave before.
Yeah.
It would have to have already been surveyed out, most likely, for the title company to have been comfortable with it to begin with.
Right. Yeah.
That's probably
I was talking about putting their stuff in the house. That's a no, right?
Oh, please tell them yes. No,
yeah,
do not.
That's
if
we're not, that the mobile home is a very specific exception, because you are able to do the homeowner's insurance and all of that. Anybody else, you can't move anything in until after closing because it's not covered. It's not. We're not responsible for property, and if anything happens, everybody's out. So you need to wait until closing to move anything into your home.
Certainly, you shouldn't be buying new things to put in there anyway until after.
No. No cars, no furniture,
no lawnmowers, no cool new stuff. Just
do all of that after closing.
Yep. Don't be messing with your finances or your credit lines.
All right. Julie's asking, they are doing our appraisal today, and we are waiting on our final plans back from drafting, which should be next week. We were told 5 months before they will start that pad foundation. Is that pretty accurate?
Could be. Yeah, it could be, Julie. I mean, what you'll get is a slot, which is a kind of a 2-week or 1 week schedule of once everything is done to get your home, like, which all the boxes are checked and we got all permits and final loan approval, which means appraisal, engineer foundation design, and got all that reconciled. Once we get all that back, then you will be what we call released to our estimating department, and that's when we assign a slot to that, and that's when we'll know for sure. But yeah, I mean, without knowing exactly where you're building, I couldn't say if 5 months is about right or not. But
okay.
Salespeople have gotten pretty wise on where to go get the dates from. I don't think they would want to give you one that they can't probably meet, but you just never know.
And Martina is asking, what happens to the dirt that's removed from the pad when it's trenched?
Okay, so what she's talking about is when we're digging the beam. So she built on a pad. I think they're up in Hamilton, if I recall, because she's a frequent visitor. And so built a pad out there. We went up and set, so you got the pad, then we went up and set forms on the pad that are, 11, 12 inches high. There's some fill material put in there, so because you have beams that are 26, 30 inches deep. And so that material comes out of the pad and it's thrown over the side of the forms. She's like, what happens to this mess? What will happen, it will be called, they can either do a rough grade now, where they take usually a skid steer or a tractor with a
so Jesse can help.
And that's right. Jesse can help. Get her out there with a skid steer. Stay away from the forms, and knock that down. It'll depend on if it's going to be in the way for like the framers or the masons. If not, it'll be done at what's called final grade. So when the house is done and the big mess is coming to fruition, the cocoon is getting ready to, give birth to the beautiful butterfly. Then what will happen is we'll do a final grade, same thing, either tractor with a box blade or a skid steer, most likely these days. We'll come through and we'll smooth all that out and down. And that's where we establish positive drainage away from the home all the way around it on the top of that pad. So it'll be used to kind of grade around, Martina, is what ends up happening with that material.
So until then, you get a big old pile of dirt.
You get a pile of dirt. And it's fun for the kids. Yeah, well, it's by bleach.
Julie, who was asking about slot dates, is saying she still needs her soil testing as well, and they're building in Johnson County. Yeah,
okay. So we're waiting on the geotechnical investigation and engineering still, and so yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're working in the Waco. So if you're in that area, it could be Waco, it could be Waxahachie, it could be Weatherford, any of our W offices. I don't know which one you're working with, but they can help you out with kind of what the time frame is like. But really, until we get that geotechnical investigation back and the engineer foundation design coupled with our the dirt pad bid, then we won't know exactly when that slot date's going to be.
Okay. Tara is sharing that she's in Kaufman building her report. They're working on the soffits today, tieback yesterday, and one window installed. Excited to get the roof on soon, weather permitting. Awesome. It's exciting to see it all coming together.
Yeah.
Kathy is saying we have a mobile home double wide and want to live in it until the home is built on a different location, on 12 acres, and then use double wide as storage. Is that possible?
Okay, so you get very detailed here. I have seen, now it's been a long time. I can't remember if it was under the new or old rules. Your lender would know, by the way. Whoever your loan officer is could answer that question pretty quickly. It's going to be kind of up to the lender and the appraiser. The appraiser is going to have to be comfortable with referring to that double wide as storage. In other words, they may require, like, okay, it's storage, unhook it the AC system, unhook the water, and unhook the septic system. So if you were going to kind of, and I'm not accusing by anything.
Well, she's saying it's in a different location. So she would be sounds like she would be bringing the mobile home to the new house once the new house is finished.
What I gathered was,
did you go the other way?
They have 12 acres on which there's a mobile home. The house they're building is nowhere near this mobile home. It's somewhere else at another location on the 12 acres.
Gotcha.
And can I just leave the mobile home where it is for storage? And the answer is
maybe.
Sometimes you can. Maybe. But if the lender believes that it's going to be used as another single family residence, they're not going to go for it. And I'll tell you a little bit of the logic why that is. Okay, so let's say this is not 100% the logic, but this is part of it. And this is one place where the federal government might actually have made a good decision. Okay, so let's say that you do it that way. You got the 12 acres. You're living in the new, beautiful Tilson home, your dream home, forever home, best home ever. And then you've got the mobile home over here that served you very well, served your family well. Now you're going to rent it out. Okay, make a little money.
Oh, she's paying cash.
Oh,
does that change everything?
I don't care.
Do what you want.
Yeah, do whatever you want to do. But now I was making this fantastic point. I must finish. So,
all right, everybody, pretend she's not paying cash.
Yeah, if you're not paying cash and you're getting a loan and all that kind of good stuff, then if you have a tenant in there in that mobile home, you quit paying on the Tilson home, whoever you quit paying the lender, whoever your lender,
right.
Joe's Mortgage, you stop paying them, they cannot kick that tenant out.
Right.
They have to foreclose on the property to recoup their cost and sell it to recoup their investment. That's what the whole point of the mortgage is. That's what a mortgage is.
Right.
You're giving someone permission that, hey, if I quit paying you, you can have the whole thing, the whole shooting match. It's all yours. The federal government says, look, you can't be going and kicking a tenant out. It ain't their fault that the landlord wasn't paying their stuff. Right. So that
tenant had no agreement with you.
Exactly. So the federal government's like, no, look, to meet Fannie Mae guidelines, that ain't going down. Now, you want to get some kind of, unconventional lending, knock your lights out, but we're not playing that game there. So that's a little bit of the reason behind the why they don't want the two single family residences on one piece of collateral property. If you're paying cash, like I said, it doesn't matter. No, there's no restriction. You can leave it hooked up to everything. You can do whatever you want to do. Leave the mobile home just like it is and roll.
All right. Awesome.
There will be no appraisal. In other words.
Yeah. Julie, who we were trying to figure out which W she was with, she's with Weatherford.
Should have started west, worked my way back.
Yeah. Kathy says her mobile home is old, but it would be good for storage. She's not gonna put anybody in it.
I hear you, Kathy.
Yeah.
I'm done with tenants.
All right. That is all I see.
All right. Well, guys, thank y'all so much. We hope this was helpful to you. But it doesn't have to end here. Okay, we've got all kinds of other places you can reach out and talk to us. We've got our Facebook page. We have our YouTube channel. We have Instagram. We have our website. We have 12 locations open 7 days a week with model homes and sales consultants dying to talk to you and tour you through the model homes. So got a great online new home specialist team. The buzzwords, they get me.
It's gonna be all right.
I know. New home specialist that can gladly help you answer those cursory questions and get you an appointment set in a design center so you get all of your questions answered. we are so grateful that you joined us here today. Again, all these are posted to our YouTube channel, as well as the website and our blog section. No blogs.
Yep, they're in the blogs. They're in the blogs, and they're also on the seminars page.
Man, look, if you can't find these, perhaps this process is not for you. I mean, that's kind of like the bare minimum. If you can't find the videos, then the rest of the process is too hard to do. No, anyway, guys, we really appreciate y'all supporting us. We really appreciate your patience right now. We know it can be very, very challenging to sit there and wait and see no progress. We hear you. It's painful for us too. It's frustrating. It's maddening. But just know that we are here with you, and we're not going to leave you hanging. And we do want to help you to the degree that we absolutely can. We will help. So thank you for watching. Thank you, Dawn, for putting it all together. Thank you, Kelsey, for monitoring all this. And thank you guys for watching. And until we see you again, we genuinely soon hope to make you part of the Tilson family. We'll see you guys later.
Bye, everybody.